Hello guys, welcome back to KSP Resurgence. Today we are going on a variety of interplanetary excursions, such as one to Rack. Rack is essentially Dres. It's added by Proxima's better Dres. Well, usually in the stock system it will revamp Dres, but with Celestial Harmony installed, it'll actually add a new body. So that's really cool. And by the way, surprise, new IPV alert. I kind of forgot to record the actual construction of this, so I couldn't show it in this video. But I am constructing a new interplanetary vehicle called Fortitude. It uses a better engine. It's a fission fragment one from Far Future Technologies. And it doesn't have as much hydrogen, but I could give it way more Delta V. But it's just that I want this to be a bit lighter and a bit faster. I want to have a higher TWR, because the one on Tenacity is absolutely abysmal. This one is called Fortitude. It's kind of a similar meaning there. I mean, I'm not sure if I have the TWR to lift off, and besides, I don't want to irradiate the Kerbals, so that's why I added those booster engines. I'm really happy with how the crop colony turned out, just because I can construct so many things from there. I mean, this fission fragment engine is even better than the fusion one I currently have on Tenacity, and I believe it will be the best fission engine for a long time in the tech tree, because I'm not getting any better fission engines until the furthest tech node, so that's pretty annoying. They're all going to be fusion engines and a couple of antimatter engines from now on, which is kind of unfortunate because getting fusion fuel is really, really difficult. So I'm going to have to figure that out. Anyway, we are trying to get into a low orbit around Sanctar just so I can rendezvous with Fortitude easier. Because my space planes, they can do lots of stuff in low Sanctar orbit, but they can't really go much further than that. I think those maybe future iterations might be able to go interplanetary. Only time can tell. And by the way, if you think that the clouds look a little bit different, I actually upgraded to Volumetric Clouds version 5. Turns out support for them came out pretty earlier than I thought. I guess Christmas came early this year. And we're doing not one, but 2 launches of the Fate Shuttle I constructed last episode. You can see the bit of the puddles added by Volumetric Clouds version 5. The Fate Shuttle is well, not a shuttle, it's a single-staged orbit, but it's a very, very versatile one. And it's a very, very good space plane. Very good for excursions to low Sanctar orbit, and maybe even beyond. It does have more range than Destiny, which is my space shuttle I constructed a few episodes back. So, who knows, maybe I could make some upgrades to it. Now, it does have a little bit of trouble breaking the sound barrier just because of how high the drag is, but well, these engines, they can run indefinitely in an atmosphere, so you can burn as long as you want. Eventually, though, you start to run out of air, in which case it starts using liquid hydrogen. I mean, the fact that it uses liquid hydrogen, I would prefer to use methane, just because it's a denser fuel, but unfortunately this engine doesn't have that option, which is kind of annoying. Anyway, both of these flights are going really well so far. I did have to have one slightly faster than the other, just so they would end at roughly the same time. However, when you're making a YouTube video, sometimes you have to use a little bit of editing witchcraft. May notice I actually clipped some MK2, some Mark II cockpits on. Okay, so I clipped some Mark II crew cabins inside just to have a bit of crew. I mean, they're not clipped too far in. It's just so the windows are peeking out and so it can actually go on EVA and it looks cool. This did shift the center of mass up a bit, so I did have to move some of the side engines up. Another issue with that this shuttle has is that it sometimes likes to flip around in space just because the gimbal's too high, so I do turn down the gimbal limit once I'm actually in space. Though in an atmosphere, when you need lots of control, those engines really do come through for me. The Fake Shuttle is a very, very versatile option for any excursions to low Sanctar orbit, as I've previously stated. I'm really not sure if I'm gonna get any better spaceplane engines, because they really can't get much better than this. I mean, maybe OPT Spaceplane does give me a few more engines that may be better, but with all the other mods I've got, maybe they're a little bit nerfed. I do have the beta, and I do believe the beta nerfs some of the engines, so it's a minor inconvenience. The other thing that really bugs me about Fate is just whenever I set the control to the docking port, it always overreacts and keeps turning around in unnatural ways. So it's always pointing anywhere but the actual target, so I have to control it manually. Though it may not look like much, the RCS array is actually more than enough to actually do some orbital maneuvering. And with that, our first Fate is docked. It's the one on the right. So 1 to Fortitude. If you look to our left, you'll see Fate approaching Tenacity. Making comments on 2 videos at once. It's all about efficiency, people. You may notice that the video's a little misaligned. Yeah, I didn't notice that in editing, but now in the voiceover phase, I'm noticing it now. It's too late to change it, and besides, it barely changes anything. So sorry, guys. And also, Celestial Harmony did finally get Sunflares, which is really neat and nice. I've been wanting to see Sunflares for ages. If you're wondering what that is, a Sunflare is basically when you look at the star, it actually, like, has a nice little effect that goofs around the lighting. It looks like it's blinding you instead of just being a fuzzy ball in the sky. And you may notice that Fate doesn't seem to have the best reputation when it comes to atmospheric landings. I always keep losing control whenever I try to land these things. I really gotta make changes to the atmospheric frame. The aerodynamic frame, excuse me. It keeps wanting to pitch up for some reason. Maybe I had to change my re-entry attitude. Maybe I should be pointing down instead of pointing up. I don't know. For one of these landings, I actually did manage to recover from the spin and actually start flying again. But another, I had to do a weird suicide burn, so I wouldn't crash. I could have loaded a quick save, but as any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. These things are death traps. I gotta make some changes. But then again, I probably won't, because it gets the job done. And besides, I can quick save however much I want. As you can see, the one on the left, we have to do a suicide burn, while the one on the right, I actually regain control and actually land safely. I got in a little hot, so I don't actually come to a stop for a while, but I did cut a lot of that out just so it actually ended the same time. And just like that, we are done. Now, Fortitude still actually needs a lander, so I'm going to send it up right now. This lander is designed to land in a small vacuum world and perhaps a moon also. Yep, that's right, I'm going to Gaia and its moon Po. Gaia is the furthest moon out in the Harmonia system. It's the farthest planet. I think I said moon, but it's the furthest planet. It's a very cold place with a thin, hazy atmosphere. It also has an interesting moon. I plan on landing on both of them, but that will have to be in the next episode, because I do end up running out of time. I will be doing a landing though in this episode. It'll be to Rack or Dres. Once again, the time warp bug keeps pestering me. Really hate that bug. I gotta get fixed. I mean, when I was a noob, I really struggled with rendezvous, but now they come naturally to me. I can do a really good rendezvous really easily. Like 90% of the time, I can do one. Though I do sometimes have to end up orbiting because I never launch at optimal windows. I think sometimes I do, but usually I don't. I did end up fat fingering the time warp, so I did have to pull back. Thankfully, I was able to actually end up slowing down. Now we are doing the final approach. And I just whizzed right by. Oh well, I'll have to go at another pass. And I did forget to bring an RCS block, so I did have to do a really jank docking here. And to top it all off, I forgot to open the shield. So, that was a scuffed yet somewhat successful rendezvous. And then as I said the tug off, I can actually start transferring... I'm not transferring the crew, I'm not doing that yet. I'm just configuring the lander. Anyway, I'm now actually going to try taking Tenacity and sending it on its merry way to Rack. It's called Rack with Celestial Harmony. It's not Dres anymore. I wonder how that will actually apply to the lore. Maybe it's a temporal anomaly. Maybe the reason Dres doesn't exist in the stock game is because it exists in this mod. It's all conspiracy theory, man. It's all crazy. Who knows, maybe all this will be explained when we actually get there and land. Now yeah, I'm doing a little bit of a weird burn here, just so I can get to Rack very quickly. I have lots of Delta V to spare. I don't care about wasting fuel. I mean, I don't want to do like massive burns just because I don't have to refuel this, because I'm not sure how I'm going to refuel it. I mean, the fusion fuel looks easy. I can just send up a little tanker. But the hydrogen, I'm going to either have to send up a really big tanker, or I'm going to have to land this on the base, which I do not want to do. Because, like I said previously, I do not want the base getting irradiated by whether it be deuterium, helium-3 fusion, or whatever fission is going on in the fission fragment engine. We have standards. This is a Kerbal space program. Though the standards may not be that high, we still have standards nonetheless. Got a nice little approach there, in fact. And we will be warping there shortly. Then again, I couldn't right-click off of this. Oh well. It's really annoying in Kerbal Space Program when you try to right-click something, but you keep right-clicking something else and all the doodads get locked on. I do remember to set an alarm for this, because when I'm ever doing multi-vessel tracking like this, I always set an alarm just so I know when to actually burn retrograde. Now this one's going to Gaia and Poe, Fortitude. Now it took me a while to fiddle around with this maneuver to actually get an encounter, because for some reason the intersect indicators didn't want to show up. I swear there's like a difficulty setting in there. I tried looking for it, but I couldn't find it, so I guess I'll have to goof around with it till I get it to work. I'm really glad that the stock antenna actually worked this far. I mean, we only have 1% all the way out at Gaia, but the antenna do work. Thankfully, I do have a few mods that give me better ones. Now, here, like I previously said, I thought there was a difficulty, but there wasn't, so I just didn't. I just had to make do with what I had. And then after a lot of toil, a lot of pain, lots of tears, sweat, and blood poured, I finally get an encounter. Right about now. That, we actually have a encounter with Gaia. Well, planned encounter. I actually have to burn for it. And there's Gaia in all of its glory. No clouds, but it does have some pretty cool scatterer effects. I should have packed some RCS on this, so I can make mid-course corrections earlier and fine-tuning our encounters. However, I guess I'll have to make do with what I have. Anyway, we are now back to Tenacity and actually going on our merry way to Rack. This will be an uneventful mission to a very Dres-like planet. In fact, it is Dres, a revamped Dres. Except it's in a completely different solar system for some reason. I mean, the Time Warp kept kicking me out of Time Warp because I had that alarm on. That's what I really hate about alarms, is that they keep kicking you out of Time Warp. And they do it the really slow way. Like, they gradually, like, slow down your Time Warp instead of just killing it all at once, which makes it take, like, ages. I think there's a setting to disable that, but then again, I said that with the encounter indicators, and it turns out it doesn't exist, or I couldn't find it. So, you know, so maybe I'm hallucinating settings that don't actually exist. Anyway, you know the drill. New planet, new body, new science. I really don't like how repetitive stock science is. You just have to go EVA, do all your science when you're high above a planet, when you're close to a planet, and then of course while you're landing on it. Although all these extra science could give you a lot of extra science points, it's just annoying. I mean, there are mods like Science Here and Now that like make it easier. I might get one of those, but then again, I'm not sure if I should do that in the middle of a playthrough. Because adding gameplay mods in the middle of a playthrough has been known to be a rather bad idea. You know, I did decide to go on a polar trajectory just so I'd actually be able to use a survey scanner, because Rack may actually have valuable resources I could actually use. Because I am looking for another place to colonize interplanetary. So, spoiler alert, I haven't really found many really good matches, like as good as Krob. I mean, they didn't have all the resources I was looking for. Like, some of them didn't have uraninite, some of them didn't have helium-3, some didn't even have metallic ore, which is like a non-negotiable. I guess the search will have to continue. I'm really thinking about doing one in like Magnifica's orbit, which is a big purple gas giant, like one of its moons. I'm sure one of them will have plenty of resources. But I don't even have to do a completely circular orbit. As long as it's in the correct range, you can just click perform survey scan and it'll work. But for this one, I did decide to do somewhat circular. I mean, Dres doesn't have the best resources. I'm sorry, Rack doesn't have the best resources, but it does have graviolum, or gravolium, which is useful for faster than light travel, but that's like a long time away. Besides, you can find those in comets and stuff. So who knows, maybe we won't make a colony here. Maybe we will. Only time can tell. In case you didn't notice, Rack/Dres here actually has some rings. Which, I think it did have rings in Kerbal Space Program 2, but as we all know, Kerbal Space Program 2 is dead in the water. So, fortunately, we'll never receive KSP 2. So the best we can do is bring KSP 2 into KSP 1, which is actually has been very successful so far. I mean, in fact, in many cases, Kerbal Space Program 1 has exceeded Kerbal Space Program 2. I mean, the clouds and atmosphere definitely has. I mean, Waterfall is a great mod, but I feel like the engine plumes in KSP 2 are like infinitely better. Well, not infinitely, but like significantly better. So are the perks. Like, if you looked at the engines, you can actually see like all the injection nozzles and stuff where all the fuel like actually exited. Well, if you look at like an engine in KSP2, you'll just see like it'll just be Blake, like a matte metallic surface inside, no intricate details inside the engine bell, which is kind of sad. Who knows? Maybe the standard will actually improve. In case you didn't know, I am using a lander from my Trom 4, just because it has plenty of fuel left over. Just enough for one landing, in fact. This landing did have me a little bit scared, because I thought it was going to crash, but I just managed to slow down just in time. And with that, we have landed on Rack/Dres. I'm just going to call it Rack from now on, just because that's what it's called in game. You know, of course, I have to do the obligatory science mining to make sure the guys at R&D back home have plenty to look over. You know, and also I do want some extra fusion engines and extra command pods. I'm not sure if I'll make another interplanetary vehicle or if I'll go straight to interstellar vehicle. It'll depend on what technology I unlock and how quickly, and if I need a bigger IPV for, like, say, a Magnifica 5. I think Magnifica has 5 moons. And we have a flag and boots on rack now. Lots of Kerbals. I managed to get all 6 of them out. And of course I have to get all 6 of them back in. We don't want to have any stranded Kerbals, do we? I do speed up the boarding and disembarking process quite a lot here, just because nobody wants to see Kerbals get in and out of a vehicle. You want to see the vehicles fly. You know, you may notice that this clip, I was in a completely different landing spot. That was because I actually tried to do a biome hop, but I didn't have enough fuel, and my last quick save was when I was still in Dres rack orbit, so I did have to load a quick save. I still have all the science, it's just that the Kerbals in this new timeline didn't actually go EVA. But I have footage, the flag. Was the flag still there? Did I forget to plant the flag? Oh well, I have the science at least, and I do have video of me landing there and planting the flag. So that's all I really need, I guess. Of course, I have to goof off with the mover tool until I get a good encounter. Close encounters are always way easier to get in smaller planets just because, well, it's smaller, the orbits are smaller, the relative distance is smaller. So it's really easy to get, like, sub-meter encounters. I mean, rendezvous. And I do have to make sure the engine's actually off, just because for some reason when the engine's active on another vessel, even though I'm not controlling it, it will still burn. I'm not sure if that's a persistent thrust issue, because persistent thrust causes a lot of bugs. I need to keep persistent thrust around because Tenacity has only like 0.1 TWR in Sanctar orbit, which is like really, really, really bad. And with all these really, really big burns, it's a must-have to have stuff like persistent thrust. Besides, it really is easy just because the vessels do not turn when actually time warping. So if I have a really, really unruly vessel that keeps wanting to jerk back and forth, I can just use time warp and it'll stop. And of course, we have to ditch the lander because it's done 5 landings. It's old and wrinkly. And besides, it probably really wants to crash back into rack. Meaning, I don't think it has enough fuel for a landing. Just in case some Kerbals in the far future want to visit it as a museum or something. Yeah, who knows. So that's our mission to rack. Anyway, that will be the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. Bye!